So it took me over 10 hard years to figure out what actually matters for the timing to buy and what actually matters for the timing to sell your stocks. That's what we're going to break down in this video right here. And I scaled my account to $1.2 million because of the exact things that we're going to talk about right now. And if I was talking to myself 10 years ago when I was a newer retail investor, wanting to know the correct time to buy and the correct time to sell, this video would have completely changed my life. I would have had a lot more money than what I have right now simply by understanding the key simple things that we're going to talk about in this video. Okay, so the first thing we're going to dive into is when is the correct time to buy? When do we buy? When do we sell? But we're going to go into buying first. So we're going to start from the top. I have this spreadsheet over here in Discord. This is called the stock sheet. I have various tabs across the bottom. There's always new things that are popping up on it too. But we're going to go to the economic scorecard right here. And at the time of recording this video, if we go all the way to the bottom of it, you will notice that the actual total score for the economic scorecard is a 145. The max score is 200. I go through all these different economic reports to get a gauge, to get a feeler on how the overall economy is doing. Because, dude, if the overall economy is taking a crap, even though you might think company XYZ is compelling, it's not going to be as compelling as what you actually think. Because the economy is taking a crap, we have to understand the overall macro thesis before we look microscopically into a company. So in this video, we're going to flow through 5 things that we have to look at on the buy side and 5 things that we have to look at on the sell side. And by the end, again, you're going to understand very clearly what you should be looking for, knowing when you should be buying, what to be looking for when you should be selling. That is a critical thing to understand in this video. So, starting from the top, total score 145, it falls into the good economy category right here. It's not super strong, it's definitely not super bad, it's just a good economy. So now that we passed step number 1 of 5, we're going to go into step number 2. Step number 2 is what is the overall market valuation? Because if the S&P 500 is a bubble, if the NASDAQ is a bubble, your company XYZ, it usually doesn't even matter. Because if the S&P falls or the NASDAQ falls, everything's probably going to come crashing down with it. Let's look at the next chart. So in order to build a strong macro thesis on what is the overall market valuation to figure out is right now a really good time to buy this company or this index, we have to figure out where the valuations are at. So if we take a look at this chart, the blue lines correspond to the price earnings ratio levels that the S&P 500 is trading at, and the red line corresponds to where the actual index is at right now. So you could see at the time that we're in the market valuation overall is a little bit hot. You could see what happened back here in 1999. The market was trading close to like a 24 or a 25 for the PE ratio. And then, of course, you saw what happened with this big crash right here. It was down like 50%. So now we're up here at a similar valuation level, and many people are worried that the valuation is hot, the market is a bubble, and everything with AI, all these AI efficiencies, all this crazy stuff going on with that stuff, it's already priced into the market right now. And just to conceptualize this a whole lot better, this is a chart of the S&P 500, and what I want to do is show you what's actually expected to happen going on into 2026. So if I just draw this vertical line right here, we're going to use this as our marker just to show us where the end of 2026 is, just so it's easier to reference. So this line corresponds to 2026. Now, if I draw one more line, I already did the math on the back end. This line right here corresponds to the earnings per share growth of the S&P 500. This growth line matters so much because when the market's a little bit above right here, above the earnings per share growth line, the market's a little bit expensive. And when the market is a little bit below the line right here, the market is a little bit cheap. A little bit cheap, a little bit expensive, and again, we're a little bit expensive up here. So let's just try to figure out, again, where we think this market might go for 1 year out to really figure out, hey, are we bullish or bearish on the overall macro valuation? We go from right now and we do a percentage basis right here and see what earnings per share is going to go up in the next year. We'll just call it roughly 2%. 2% from the current level is what we expect earnings per share to go up in relation to where the actual stock market's at. So if the stock market's going to follow what the earnings per share growth line is going to do, wouldn't we say a lot of this growth might already actually be priced into the market right now? It is very possible. And if we look right now and figure out, hey, how overvalued is this market? We could go from where the market's at right now to where this earnings per share growth line's at, and it is roughly 10%. That's why I'm saying I don't think we're in a bubble. I just think the market overall is a little bit expensive. So step number 2 on figuring out, is it a good time to buy right now, for example, the economy is okay, but the overall market valuations are a little bit hot. But hey, that doesn't mean there's no deals out there. That doesn't mean there's no opportunities out there. We're going to dive into individual companies right now to figure out what we're looking for, the why behind it, and how we could deploy options in a way that really makes sense right now, given all these things that we just talked about. Because it's the overall totality of the data that really matters. Like, yes, I'm selling a lot of puts right now. I'm generating a lot of cash flow, but I'm also keeping my ratios well within check so that if the market happens to correct, I'm going to be just fine. Let's dive into step number 3. So one of the best ways to figure out the true intrinsic value of a company, of course, there's a lot of things that we could look at, but if we head over to my Discord, I just want to show you what NVIDIA is right now, for example. I did a full breakdown on NVIDIA, but at the bottom right here, we're looking at this individual company. I have an intrinsic value calculator, and what I do is I plug in earnings per share, plug in a growth rate, plug in where bonds are at, and it spits out where the true intrinsic value for NVIDIA is at. If you want to learn how to do this, click the link below, come into my 10-day stocks and options transformation. It'll change your life, but I'm not trying to sell you something. I just want to show you this is what we do in Discord for some of this stuff. There's a lot of other stuff we do, a lot of channels down the side right here. But we figure out that, hey, NVIDIA right now is trading a little bit below where the intrinsic value is at. Hey, that might mean the company is undervalued. That might mean it's a little bit compelling. On top of that, do we feel like NVIDIA has a durable competitive advantage? Do we feel like they have a moat? Do we feel like they have pricing power? Basically, are they dominating their field? Well, who's their competition? AMD. Who else has a competition? Companies like Google, companies like Amazon, companies like Marvell, companies like Broadcom. We have to understand what the competition is doing to understand, hey, we could build confidence in making this play on NVIDIA. So if we go through all that stuff and we realize NVIDIA's valuation is okay, they have a moat, they have pricing power, they have a durable competitive advantage, hey, maybe it would make sense to make a play on NVIDIA. But there's one big problem that most people really mess up on this, and it's the duration that they actually hold these plays for. Because again, if we flip back over to the chart, what I want to do is plot the earnings per share growth line on NVIDIA in the last few years. I already did all the math on the back end, so don't stress that I'm like making this stuff up. All you do is you figure out how much did earnings per share go up in this time frame. You plot the line from start to finish because NVIDIA's earnings pretty much are up and to the right. And you do that on the same percent basis on the chart. And you just line it up and it'll say, hey, a little cheap here, a little bit expensive here, a little cheap, a little expensive, a little bit cheap right now, just barely. Here's what you have to understand, and this is where most people go wrong with buying, and then we'll flip into when to sell, because selling is honestly like the biggest battle because, hey, you made a lot of money. What do? Do you take the profits or do you let it run? Or, hey, maybe you bought and then the stock went down. What do you do? We're going to talk about that stuff. And I know I feel like I'm kind of like bouncing all around in this video, but this is all really, really important stuff to understand, to be honest with you, because if you don't understand this, if you don't evaluate companies like this, you're never going to make it in the long term. You have to understand all this stuff in a flow. Okay, the thing that most people get wrong, not only by evaluating a company with all the things we just talked about, is the duration that they plan on holding the trade for. Like, think about it. Maybe NVIDIA right here, like look at my cursor right now. NVIDIA in theory is a little bit below the earnings per share growth line. So hey, maybe NVIDIA is a little bit cheap. Like here, I'll even zoom it in for you. We could see this dip a little bit better. Maybe NVIDIA is a little bit cheap right here. But if we really think about it, it's just barely below the earnings per share growth line. So while it is compelling, it's compelling against what? It's compelling against what duration of hold time? Like if you want to hold this from February 21st and you want to hold it till April, you're going to get smoked even though it's trading below the earnings per share growth line. But if you give the company time to grow their earnings per share and you get in at a solid valuation level, if you would have bought here, anywhere in this time period right here on this entire dip, you would have been up if you would have just been patient, if you would have just held and gave the company a little bit more time to grow the earnings per share. That would have helped you a lot. So when you want to get the timing right, you also got to get the duration right too. You have to be able to hold this stuff for at least a year. Because if you hold any company for less than a year, dude, you're just gambling. Like whatever these short-term market movements are in like 1 month, 2 months, even 6 months, it's all just noise. Like it usually just means nothing. So giving yourself more time on the hold makes it 10 times easier to get your timing right, because the longer that you hold for, the better that your timing appears to be. Like think about if you bought a house a long time ago. Everyone says, oh, you can't lose money in real estate. And that's everyone looking back at their grandparents that bought their house for $40,000 and now they're all $500,000. Yes, but maybe the day they bought it, it went from 40K to 38K to 37K to 50K, and now it's 500K. A little bit of volatility in the short term, but when you drag that line up and to the right all the way to where it is right now, it looks like obvious. Hey, we should have bought that house back then for $40,000. That is the same thing when it comes to companies. Your timing does not have to be as perfect if you plan to hold it longer. And it should be no surprise to you that this is why I do longer duration stock options too. I sell long duration portfolio secured puts, not cash secured, and I buy longer duration call options because it's just so much easier to make money. You don't have to be as precise because nobody is perfect in the stock market. So if you understand these 5 things, you understand that the economy is overall in a decent place. You understand that the overall market valuation, like the S&P and the Nasdaq, they are within reason. If you understand that the company that you're looking at to make a play on, if the overall valuation is reasonable, good earnings per share growth, good revenue growth, good price earnings ratio level, good valuation against its peers, you understand that as the third thing. You understand that that company has a moat and that company has a pricing power as 4 and 5. You are likely to do well in the long term. Of course, there's going to be a lot of volatility in the short term. There's going to be a lot of bumps, a lot of things to be worrying about. But if you extend your time horizon and you check those 5 boxes right there, you are likely to do very, very well in the stock market. I mean, just think about what Warren Buffett does. He's one of the most boring investors of all time, yet he has almost $200 billion for some reason because he buys a good company at a good price, understanding what the macro thesis is, what the micro thesis is, and he simply just bees patient. He's letting the company grow their earnings per share. As the EPS goes up, the company is going to follow that in the long term. So overall, this is what I do on a daily basis in Discord and try to figure out where's the economy at, where's valuations at, where's the whole thesis at, and then we deploy capital based on that. Now, let's go into when to sell, because I'm going to be completely honest with you. Knowing when to sell is one of the hardest things on planet Earth to do. Because maybe you buy a company for a cheap valuation level. Like the goal, of course, is to buy cheap and sell expensive. But what is expensive? How expensive is too expensive to hold a company? Did you capture the quote gross movement as I talk about? Did you capture like you think the stock's going to go from 100 to 200? And if it gets to 200, hey, the stock might be overvalued. Maybe you should sell. That's what we're going to cover right now. So let's dive back into the chart. Okay, so the timing for when to sell. We don't have to get it perfect. We just have to capture the quote gross movement, the majority of the move that we're expecting to come. So we'll look at this chart in a second, but I just want to explain this really quick. So the easiest way to simply understand when should we sell and when should we take profits, we're kind of just going to do everything but on the reverse side of it. So if we just start from the top again, the overall macro thesis. If the economy is taking a crap and maybe Nvidia is still doing relatively well, if the overall economy takes a crap, it's probably going to drag Nvidia down with it. If the overall market valuation is hot, it's probably going to drag Nvidia down with it when the S&P and the Nasdaq were to fall. The third thing, which is Nvidia's actual valuation. If Nvidia's valuation gets totally extended from where we feel like it should be at, it's kind of like bubbly, it's just way too high, high price earnings ratio level, maybe revenue is slowing down, maybe earnings per share growth is slowing down. If the valuation is hot, that is another indication to sell the stock. What about the moat? What about the pricing power? What if AMD or, some other company comes out with a new chip that is literally going to target Nvidia's business, and maybe their chip is better, it's cheaper, it's more efficient, and it could potentially wipe Nvidia out. These are things that are potentially legitimate reasons to sell your stock, because remember, at the end of the day, we want to buy when things are cheap and sell them when they're expensive. That's more so talking about fundamentals, but the macro thesis, the economy, the interest rates, the labor market, all that stuff helps build even more conviction in where things are at and where we expect them to go going into the future. And to build even more conviction on the overall market valuation, just go on Google and type in S&P 500 PE ratio FactSet. Click on this first link right here. This is a critical chart that is going to show you where the S&P 500 is at in relation to where the earnings are at right now. So you can see that the lighter line right here is the S&P 500. The darker line is where the earnings per share is at. The market is quite a bit above where the actual earnings per share growth line's at. That could indicate the market is overvalued. Think of this as like a rubber band. If I pull the stock price up and let it go, it's going to want to fling down. But if I pull the stock down to this level right here and let it go, it's going to want to fling up. So the market is a little bit cheap right here, and you can see the future returns were really, really good, and the market is a little bit expensive right here. So maybe the future returns aren't going to be so good. Again, that's why I feel like the market is a little bit expensive at the time of recording this. But no matter when you're watching this video, you could just go flow through this stuff yourself and understand where are we at. So the overall market's a little bit expensive. Just by looking at that, hey, I might want to sell my Nvidia stock. I might want to close out. But if we go look at this chart and we look at the actual individual valuation for Nvidia, we know the revenue is growing, we know the earnings per share is growing, and we know it's trading roughly below the earnings per share growth line. The stock is relatively attractive right now. But when you factor the totality of everything into this, we realized, yes, we are bullish on Nvidia, but we don't want to be too bullish on Nvidia. But if Nvidia was trading up here closer to like 210 per share, that's pretty close to where intrinsic value is at. It wouldn't be as compelling at that level. So maybe you entered right here, which I bought a lot of Nvidia down here. I bought some calls, sold some puts, made a lot of money on this pump right here. And I closed out most of that Nvidia kind of like right here. So I closed out, sure, maybe a little bit early. But the thing about it is, I took that capital and redeployed it to something more compelling. We made a lot of money on United Health. That's where I redeployed that capital, because you want to sell things when they're a little bit expensive or getting expensive to redeploy it to something that is largely undervalued, that is obvious that it's cheap. So I know I'm talking about a lot right here. I feel like I'm not flowing too good in this video. But again, like, you might have to watch this video twice, because a lot of this stuff here that I'm talking about, like everything, is critical to understand, because at the end of the day, we're simply here to capture gross movements. We want to buy something when it's largely undervalued, sell it when it's largely overvalued, and we want to buy things when they're undervalued with the overall economy and macro thesis kind of in check. If any of that deteriorates, it factors into our decision of, hey, should we sell this company right now? And if any of that is good, if it's a good company at a good price in a good economy, that would indicate we're going to buy it, hold it through the gross movement, hold it until it gets a little bit expensive or the whole story changes, and then we close it out and we take profits. Now, if we head back over to Discord, I'm going to show you my scorecard that shows you all of this factored into one spreadsheet of where I feel like we're at right now with individual companies and the overall economy. So at the time of this recording, these are the companies that I break down every single quarter. I mean, there's more that I do besides this, but these are the ones that make the scorecard, and these are the ones that I am most bullish on. The valuation comes into effect, the growth, the moat, the execution risk, the sentiment, the macro. The macro is pretty much like the overall market valuation and like, how the economy is doing overall. All of this comes into a score, and we just simply sort it from, best score to least score. And if anything is over a 75, it could be potentially a compelling deal. We build that thesis, we understand all that stuff, it becomes easier to know when to buy and when to sell. And I've been reading a lot of the comments, and a lot of people ask me this question. They're just like, Brandon, what happens if you can't find a deal? And I say this, there's no trades to be made. There's no deals. I only make plays when everything lines up. And I'm going to be honest with you, like this month for December, the time of recording this, I probably made like 5 trades-ish. There's usually always something that we could find out there. But in April, when the market was falling quite a bit, there was a lot of opportunity out there. So opportunity usually comes in lumps, because again, if the S&P is expensive and it falls, everything goes down with it. So you always want to have your ratios in check. You always want to have all of your stuff set up so that you're going to win in a bull market. You don't want to leave any money on the table. But at the same time, if we get a prolonged deep bear market, your ratios are well within check. And mark my words, if the market falls over 50% from the levels that we are at right now, I will sleep just fine at night. My ratios are well within check to survive a prolonged U-shaped recovery, W-shaped recovery, not a V-shaped recovery, whatever you want to call it. Okay, so that's most of the stuff that I wanted to cover in this video. Buy things when they're cheap, sell them when they're expensive, and understand the overall macro thesis. So if you want to watch another really good video that's going to dive deeper into how I plot that earnings per share growth line and when to do stock options based on the valuation level and the whole macro thesis, watch this video right here. It's going to help you out a lot. With that being said, I'll see you guys in the next one.